Welcome. You're here because you want the real story on tablet. And Notebook displays what's trending, how it's growing, what's next, but, without wading through dense reports.
Exactly. Think of this as your express lane.
We've done a deep dive into a recent market analysis, pulling out the key insights for you.
And it's a pretty significant market we're talking about. It's not just pocket change, it's a major industry with serious growth ahead.
Yeah, significant is right. We're looking at USD 35,241.5 million in 2024. That's the current valuation.
A hefty sum.
And here's the kicker. It's projected to climb quite steeply, actually, to USD 70,220.9 million by 2032.
Wow, that's nearly double.
It is, and that's with a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of 9.0%. That kind of number, well, it signals a real shift in how we use our tech.
Absolutely. And you have to ask, what's really pushing that growth? It boils down to our increasing reliance on these devices.
For everything, right? Work, entertainment.
Precisely. Personal computing on the go, mobile productivity, digital entertainment, it all demands better, higher quality displays.
Okay, so let's dig into the current scene. What defines the market right now?
Right now, the big focus is on delivering, well, a premium visual experience. That means high resolution, really sharp images.
And battery life is always key.
Definitely. So energy efficiency is crucial.
Yeah,
And durability, these things go everywhere with us. They need to hold up.
makes total sense. And I guess the way we work now, like hybrid models,
Yeah.
remote learning, that must be boosting demand for those features.
Oh, absolutely. Massively. Think about it. Hybrid work, remote learning, even mobile gaming. It all increases the need for premium stuff.
Like what specifically?
Higher refresh rates.
Rare one.
Makes scrolling, videos, everything just smoother. Touch sensitivity needs to be really precise.
And durability, as you say.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Especially when your office could be a coffee shop one day and your couch the next.
And what about those sort of flashier innovations, like foldable screens, ultra-thin bezels?
Yeah, those are definitely making waves. Foldable displays, they're not just gimmicks anymore. They add real versatility.
And the thin bezels just looks...
Mostly about maximizing screen real estate without making the device bigger. It looks good, sure, but it's also practical. More screen, less frame.
Right.
And we shouldn't forget things like blue light reduction tech. People are much more aware of eye strain now.
So it all loops back to this core demand for, well, better screens everywhere.
Pretty much. Consumers, students, businesses, everyone wants a better visual experience. And the tech driving it is advancing incredibly fast, especially the materials.
You mean moving past the standard LCDs?
Exactly. We're seeing a really significant shift towards AMOLED and flexible OLED screens.
Why those?
They just offer compelling benefits. Better energy efficiency, for one, which means longer battery life. And the contrast is amazing: deep blacks, bright whites, much more immersive.
Can you give us, like, a concrete example of how this material science is changing things?
Sure. Take Samsung Display. Back in April 2023, they unveiled their ultra-thin glass technology, UTG.
Right, I remember hearing about that.
That wasn't just a minor tweak. UTG makes foldable screens much tougher, yes, but it also opens doors for, well, more radical designs. Think foldable tablets that are genuinely thin and durable. It could really accelerate innovation, especially at the premium end.
That really paints a picture. Okay, so stepping back a bit, what are the big overarching trends shaping this market today?
Well, like you said, that valuation around USD 35,241.5 million in 2024, that number itself tells a story. It shows consumers are willing to pay for high-res, touch-enabled, power-sipping panels.
And there's a clear move towards certain types of displays, isn't there?
Definitely. The momentum is clearly towards OLED and Mini-LED.
Why the preference?
Brighter screens, much better contrast, and crucially less power drain. All things people really notice and value.
And that growth forecast we mentioned.
Yeah.
It's pretty dramatic.
It really is, that 9.0% CAGR.
Yeah.
It leads to that projected value of roughly USD 70,220.9 million by 2032. That's huge expansion, driven by these fundamental changes.
What else is fueling the innovation furnace? It can't just be better tech for tech's sake.
Good point. A big driver is the popularity of versatile devices. Think convertible laptops, those two-in-one hybrids.
And gaming notebooks, too.
Absolutely. Gaming demands peak performance, higher refresh rates for smooth action, those ultra-thin bezels for immersion, HDR compatibility for, richer colors and contrast.
Right, HDR makes a big difference. I've also seen some devices focus purely on, like, reading or note-taking.
Yeah.
Very long battery life.
Yeah. That's where e-paper and reflective LCD tech come in. They're super energy efficient, ideal for e-learning, long reading sessions, or business devices where battery is paramount.
Interesting. So different tech for different needs.
Yeah.
Now, where are these displays actually being sold? What's the regional picture?
Okay, so in 2024, North America had the biggest slice of the pie, about 38%. Probably reflects strong consumer spending on premium tech and lots of R&D there.
And Europe?
Europe was next, around 29%. Seems to be a strong market for professional-grade notebooks.
What about Asia Pacific? I always think of manufacturing there.
You're right, too. Asia Pacific held 25% in 2024, but it's the fastest growing region by far.
Really? How fast?
Projected to hit 28% market share by 2025, with a CGR of 10.5%. That's impressive growth.
What's driving that boom?
It's a combination. You've got the massive consumer electronics manufacturing powerhouses, China, South Korea, Taiwan, plus rising demand within the region itself for everything from budget devices to high-end displays.
So Asia Pacific is definitely the one to watch for future growth. You mentioned AI earlier, briefly.
Yeah.
How might that fit in down the line?
Yeah, looking ahead, AI could play a bigger role. Imagine AI-driven visual enhancements, the display optimizing brightness, color, sharpness automatically based on what you're viewing.
That sounds cool.
And of course, the continued evolution of foldable devices will keep pushing flexible display tech forward, maybe even creating totally new types of gadgets.
It sounds incredibly competitive. Who are the main companies battling it out?
Oh, it's fiercely competitive. You've got a few giants really driving things through tech innovation and smart strategies. Samsung, LG, and AU Optronics are probably the most influential names right now.
How does the market share break down between them?
As of 2024, Samsung had the lead with about 15% share. LG was right behind at 14%, and AU Optronics held around 12%, so pretty close at the top.
And what's their playbook? How do they stay ahead?
They're all pouring money into the next big things, OLED, Mini-LED, and keeping an eye on micro-LED for the future.
So R&D is key.
Absolutely. Plus, expanding production, pushing for higher resolutions constantly, and always trying to make the displays more power efficient. That's crucial for notebooks and tablets.
It sounds like a relentless race.
It really is.
Ah.
Staying competitive means heavy R&D, plus forming strategic partnerships. Think display makers teaming up with the big laptop brands.
Any specific tech advancements that stand out recently?
Well, we've seen real progress in flexible OLED panels, making foldables more viable. And LTPO technology is clever. It lets the screen adjust its refresh rate dynamically. Saves battery life.
Smart. Is it just internal development, or are companies buying tech too? Mergers, acquisitions?
Definitely seeing M&A activity. It's a way to quickly acquire expertise, strengthen supply chains, or just expand market reach.
And looking ahead, say, into 2025, does the competition heat up even more?
All signs point to yes. Competition is expected to intensify further in 2025. Keep an eye on Chinese manufacturers. They're making big strides in high-resolution displays and could really challenge the established players.
Okay, let's circle back to the demand side. We know why people want better screens generally, but let's talk specifics. OLED versus Mini-LED versus LCD.
Right. So as we said, remote work, digital learning, streaming entertainment, it all pushes demand. And when you compare OLED and Mini-LED to your standard LCD, well, the difference is noticeable.
Remind us what those key differences are again.
Okay, OLED and Mini-LED generally offer much better color accuracy, more true-to-life images, deeper contrast, so you get those really deep blacks, and better energy efficiency usually.
Which translates to better battery life.
Exactly. A huge deal for portable devices. That's why they're becoming the go-to for premium tablets and notebooks.
And the market data backs this up.
It does. In 2024, OLED and Mini-LED together grabbed about 55% of the market share. Traditional LCDs sleep to around 45%, and that trend is likely to continue.
What about those super smooth screens, especially on gaming gear?
You mean high refresh rates? We're seeing wider adoption of 120 Hz screens, even higher in some cases.
What does that actually do?
It means the screen redraws the image 120 times per second or more. Makes motion look incredibly fluid, crucial for fast-paced games, but honestly, it makes everything feel smoother, even just scrolling web pages. Also great for creative pros.
So OLED is likely to grab even more market share soon.
That's the forecast for 2025, yeah. As they get more durable, more efficient, and keep delivering those rich colors and fast response times, their appeal just grows, especially for gaming and video.
And it's not just the panel tech itself, right?
Yeah.
Other features matter too.
Oh, absolutely. Touchscreen capability, stylus support, these are huge drivers, particularly for productivity devices,
Mhm.
two-in-ones, creative tablets.
And foldables, changing the whole form factor.
Exactly. Those evolving shapes are pushing display design in new directions, too.
It feels like a feedback loop. How we use devices drives demand, which fuels the tech innovation in the displays.
That's a great way to put it. Cloud computing, hybrid work, AI optimizing things behind the scenes, it all points towards needing more immersive, higher performance displays. The screen isn't just a component anymore, it's a key part of the experience.
Okay, let's focus specifically on those technologies, OLED, mini-LED, micro-LED. Can you break down what makes each one tick?
Sure. These three are really transforming things. They're all chasing lighter, more energy efficient, high-res displays, but they get there in slightly different ways.
Let's start with OLED. What's its magic?
OLED stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode. The key thing is each pixel lights itself up. It can be turned completely off.
Ah, so that's how you get perfect black.
Exactly. True black, which means amazing contrast, plus really vivid colors and wide viewing angles. The picture looks good even from the side. That's why it's so popular in high-end gear.
Okay, and mini-LED, how's that different?
Think of Mini LED as a supercharged LCD. Instead of a few big backlights, it uses thousands of tiny LEDs.
Mini-LEDs make sense.
Right. This gives much finer control over brightness across the screen. You get local dimming, darkening specific zones for better contrast. It's often seen as a bridge technology, offering big improvements over LCD, maybe more cost-effectively than OLED right now.
And micro-LED, that sounds even smaller.
It is. Micro-LED uses even tinier inorganic LEDs, similar to OLED, in that each pixel emits light. The promise here is incredible brightness, amazing efficiency, super long lifespan, and less risk of burn-in compared to OLED.
But it's not quite here yet.
It's getting closer, but manufacturing at scale for tablets and notebooks is still complex and expensive. Definitely the future goal for many, though.
We heard Samsung ramped up OLED production significantly. That's a big bet on OLED, right?
Absolutely. When Samsung announced that expansion back in February 2023, it was a clear signal they see OLED dominating the premium space for the foreseeable future.
But LG seems more focused on mini-LED.
That seems to be their strategy, yes.
Yeah.
They're pushing next-gen mini-LEDs hard, aiming for higher brightness and better HDR, especially targeting gaming laptops and professional workstations where that visual punch really matters.
And AU Optronics is looking even further ahead with micro-LED research.
Precisely. They're investing in the long game, positioning themselves for when micro-LED becomes more commercially viable, banking on its potential for efficiency and durability.
We talked about Asia-Pacific's growth. How does its manufacturing strength tie in to these advanced technologies?
It's directly linked. That 35% market share in 2024, growing to a projected 38% by 2025, that's powered by the huge manufacturing infrastructure in China, South Korea, and Taiwan.
They have the factories and the expertise.
And often government support, too. This lets them scale up production of OLED, mini-LED, and eventually micro-LED faster and potentially cheaper than other regions, driving adoption globally.
Okay, let's pull back and just recap those core growth drivers.
Yeah.
What's really pushing this market forward?
Number one is still that fundamental demand for better displays. High-res, energy-efficient, tough, driven by how much we use tablets and notebooks for everything: work, school, fun.
And the tech advancements themselves are a huge part of it.
Absolutely. OLED and mini-LED simply offer a better experience, better colors, contrast, often better battery life. People notice that, especially in premium devices.
And the shift to hybrid work and online learning gave things a big boost recently.
Undeniably. That surge in 2024 was significantly fueled by everyone needing capable devices for remote work and virtual classrooms. Sales jumped for both consumer and business gear.
We've mentioned tablets and notebooks together, but how does the notebook segment specifically stack up?
It's actually dominant. In 2024, notebook displays made up about 60% of the total revenue in this market. So laptops are still the volume driver here.
And energy efficiency. It feels like that's becoming a bigger and bigger deal.
It really is. Battery life is always a top concern. So features like adaptive refresh rates, where the screen slows down when showing static images, and low-power backlights are becoming standard to squeeze out more runtime.
Touchscreens on laptops, too, seem more common now.
Yeah, that demand has grown a lot. Again, driven by hybrid work, people wanting that flexibility to switch between typing and touch, like a tablet.
And those futuristic flexible displays. Still niche, but getting investment.
Definitely. Flexible and foldable tech sees a lot of R&D spending. It's not mainstream volume yet, but the potential to redefine device categories keeps companies investing heavily.
It all sounds very positive, but there must be roadblocks, right?
Yeah.
What are the main challenges holding things back?
Oh, for sure. It's not all smooth sailing. Probably the biggest hurdle is still cost, especially for the advanced tech like OLED and Mini-LED.
So they're great, but expensive.
Exactly. Manufacturing them is complex, yields aren't always perfect, and that keeps the price high.
Hmm.
It limits how widely they can be used in budget or even mid-range devices.
Meaning LCD still dominates the lower end?
Pretty much, LCD panels are just more cost-effective to produce, even if the visual quality isn't as good. So for price-sensitive markets, that cost factor is a major barrier to adopting the newer tech.
Are there other big challenges besides just the panel cost?
Yeah, supply chain complexity and vulnerability is another one. We all saw the impact of the global semiconductor shortage recently.
Right, that hit everything.
It caused longer lead times, price fluctuations for components, a real headache for manufacturers. Plus, you have geopolitical tensions, trade issues that can affect sourcing raw materials.
So getting the parts reliably can be tricky.
It can be. Companies are working on diversifying their supply chains, finding alternative sources, but there's still uncertainty about long-term stability.
And what about the pressure for devices to be thinner and lighter all the time? Does that add complexity?
Definitely. Designing and building super thin, lightweight displays that are also durable and perform well is a constant engineering challenge. It adds another layer of complexity and potential cost.
Okay, let's shift gears and look forward. What exciting developments can we expect in the, say, near to midterm future?
The outlook is definitely exciting. Innovation isn't slowing down. We'll see wider adoption of mini-LED and eventually micro-LED as they push brightness, contrast, and efficiency even further.
And will mini LEDs start appearing in less expensive devices?
That's the expectation. As manufacturing matures and costs come down, mini-LED should trickle down into more mid-range tablets and notebooks, making premium visuals more accessible.
What about those foldables and rollables? Are they going to break out soon?
They hold huge potential to change how we think about device shapes, offering more screen in a smaller package or new kinds of multitasking. Adoption is still early, but the R&D is intense. Expect to see more and better options emerging.
And for the performance junkies, gamers, creators.
The push for higher refresh rates, 120 Hz and up, will continue. Smoother visuals are addictive once you experience them, especially for gaming and pro applications.
Is there any focus on the environmental side of things, sustainability?
Yes, that's becoming increasingly important. We're seeing a definite trend towards more sustainable practices.
Like using different materials?
That, and also focusing on more energy-efficient manufacturing processes. Reducing the environmental footprint is becoming a bigger part of the conversation for display makers, too.
So, wrapping it up, the future looks bright, literally and figuratively, for this market.
That sums it up nicely. It's poised for sustained growth, really driven by relentless innovation, better performance, and this increasing focus on the overall user experience, including sustainability.
Well, this has been fantastic. A really thorough deep dive. Just to quickly hit the highlights again, dynamic market growth fueled by demand and tech like OLED and Mini-LED.
Right. We looked at the key players like Samsung, LG, AU Optronics, the regional shifts, especially Asia-Pacific's rise.
Plus the drivers, the challenges like cost and supply chains, and that exciting glimpse into future tech like micro-LED and foldables. You should really feel up to speed now.
Absolutely. From the big numbers, that $35 billion market growing towards $70 billion to the nuts and bolts of the tech, hopefully it's all much clearer now.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. As these amazing display technologies keep advancing, how much will they continue to blur the lines between, say, a tablet and a notebook? Or maybe create entirely new categories we haven't even thought of yet? What could that mean for how we work, how we learn, how we get entertained down the road? Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.